evening. Welcome to show number 3. As you can see, we've rebranded, got ourselves a sexy logo and a nice new intro and some new colours. But it doesn't change the content. We are live again. Fat Pod Lads, FPL Extra Time, show 3. We got a lot to talk about, boys. But first and foremost, let's introduce my co-host, as always, Rossi. How are you, mate?
I'm not too bad, mate. Yourself?
I'm very well. Hindi?
I could be better after this week's FPL.
Oh, we'll get right into that, mate. Don't you worry. Bugden, how are you, mate?
All gravy.
All gravy. Good, good. And Russ, you good?
Yeah, I'm top, mate. Top.
Good, good. I've just accidentally turned my camera off, so bear with me. Right, there we go. So, welcome to episode 3 of Fat Pod Lads Extra Time. I'm really looking forward to this show. I don't know why. I think it's because our champ has turned to chump this week, but we will come on to that. But first thing I want to touch on, just very quickly, obviously some sad news. Sven-Göran Eriksson passed away during the week. I saw an interview he did where he said, love life, etc. I just thought we should pay our respects a little bit. So, talk about a couple of memories about Sven. So I'll go first. My real first memory, one of my first memories of football was actually the World Cup in Korea and Japan, which is kind of where I started to watch football in that sense. And that was obviously under Sven. We went out to Brazil. But, he was a good man. Had, apart from the phone hacking scandal, which wasn't his fault, he didn't really have that many demons in the closet. So, I think we should be very proud that he was England manager. It's very sad that he's passed away. Rossi, what's your kind of memories on Sven? And, what do you remember most? Anything that really hits home?
He was just that manager when I was growing up, when I was younger, everyone was scrutinised because obviously the England manager weren't English. It was all that, but then it was this cheeky little Swedish guy.
Yep.
But you had the classic games, the big games, the 5-1s, the Argentinas, the Wilcott taking Wilcott, not doing nothing, not playing it, But fond memories of that time, the golden balls, the golden era kind of thing. Yep. But yeah,
Indy.
So I used to watch a lot of Football Italia back in the day.
Lazio.
Lazio. He won Serie A with a very, very minnow team. I mean, he had some good players in there, like Marcelo Salas, Alan Boksic, Juan Sebastian Veron.
Yeah, what a guy.
Man United legend. He won the UEFA Cup Winners' Cup. He won the Super Cup in 1999. I think in the end, they ended up getting a treble. I know it's not the proper treble, but they won like the Coppa Italia, the Serie A, and one of the smaller European trophies, I think, all in the same year, which is pretty impressive, to be honest. But he was a bit ahead of his time in terms of the way he played, like tactically. He picked up obviously functional IKEA type football from Sweden, then mixed in a bit of defensive abilities in Serie A, and then actually when you mix in some really good players in that, he does actually get some good results, like the 5-1 that Rossi said in Germany and Munich. It's a mad result for England, to be honest. But it's a shame that he's passed away. But I'm sure he's having a few drinks with Georgie Best.
Well, he led that Beckham redemption, didn't he?
Let's
be honest. He led that Beckham redemption, the penalty against Argentina, which none of us forget. Bug, what you got any memories of Sven you want to share, or being Chelsea not really bothered?
You kind of just mentioned it. I was going to say he brought Beckham back from the villain, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Even if you're not a United fan, you love Beckham.
Yeah. Rosal.
Yeah, pretty much the same. And I was quite happy that Liverpool gave him his dream to go out, walk him out at Anfield. Yeah. I thought that was a nice touch from Liverpool. So all credit to them for doing it. But yeah, like Rossi was saying, the 5-1, that's the main one that sticks in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, you got to look at what he done in his home nation as well. With Gothenburg, he took to won a European trophy with. This is the equivalent of taking a non-league team to European glory. It just doesn't happen. Yeah. So, once again, everyone on the channel, we just want to say rest in peace, Sven. Thank you very much for all you've done. All you did for England, and also with your family. Owen's in the chat. I think this is my daughter's boyfriend. So, Owen, thank you very much for jumping on and tuning in.
Watch yourself.
It's definitely my daughter's boyfriend because he's a Watford fan. So, but someone's got to be, so I won't hold it against him too much. I do want to get into the show a little bit, and I do want to talk about this week's FPL because it's been really, really exciting and really interesting. And it's been really, really exciting for one reason only. So last week, a lot of you probably remember, I was bottom of the basement, down in the gutters, feeling sorry for myself, had a bit of a shocking week, was wondering how am I going to catch the champ that is Hindi, the best there is, Mr. Arrogant, who ended this week with a wonderful 62 points, which is lower than his recommended points. So Hindi, first and foremost, welcome to the lower echelons of the league. It smells good down here, doesn't it?
Look, it's 30 points from top to bottom. It's not a huge amount. It's definitely something that we can rectify and sort out. So not to worry, lads. Look, I'm 29 points behind Rossi. That's nothing. It's peanuts. But look, I've had a bad week. I appreciate that, but it's still, even with a bad week, still got 62. I talked about average points. Sometimes you're going to get good weeks, sometimes you're going to get bad weeks. If it's not 40s, do you know what? I'm actually all right with 62. I don't think it's that bad. And when you factor in that on the eve of FPL deadline day, you got Solanke got injured, you've got Nkunku played in midweek, you've got Zinchenko randomly gets benched after scoring a clean sheet in the week before. It's a lot of things against me. A lot of things went against me. I'm still here, all right? I'm still standing, all right? In the words of Elton John, I am still standing.
What you are doing is propping up the rest of us. So just talk us through your week, mate. Have a quick look at your team here on the screen.
Yeah.
Have a quick chat. Talk me through what went wrong.
Well, to be fair, Nottingham Forest keeper came through. He was very, very good, and they were solid against Southampton. Obviously, Man City conceding very early against Ipswich. Didn't get anybody off to a really good start that had anybody that's a Man City player. Zinchenko not being on the team sheet. United losing whilst I'm a United fan was a pain in the cunt. It's just there's enough things that happen that are tough being a Man United fan, but that one was rough in the 95th minute. And then you go
offended by that language. I've just got to drop that in there. Apologies if you were offended.
Oh yeah, my bad.
Unfortunately, his mouth ran away with him. A bit like his kebab habit, but carry on.
And then the midfield, just Callum Hudson-Odoi, love him to bits, but he didn't do anything. And then you've got Jota, who actually, to be fair, had a few chances, and he's the only one that actually was reasonable. Same with Saka. Eze, do you know what? He's looked so good, and yet he's not scoring. And Nkunku obviously played midweek, didn't get a game. Isak did nothing, and there's just nothing on my bench. There's no assistance whatsoever with Anderson mid-move to Fulham, and then it just doesn't happen.
Do you kind of think that it's do you blame the manager this week or do you blame the players? Where do you kind of go? Because obviously you selected those players, you picked your starting 11, you didn't make any subs. Do we blame the Asian Pep or do we look closer to your team?
well, look, I looked at Solanke and I found out on Friday that ultimately Solanke wasn't going to play. It was at that point I'd already made the sub, so I'd had to take then the -4 if I was going to get rid of Solanke. I didn't think it was worth it, to be honest. I'd much rather go in with 9 and not have to take the -4 on the basis that we've got an international week. Whoever I could have put in could have got injured straight on the Saturday, and I would have just been in the same shit spot, a few days later, and it just becomes a bit of a perpetual cycle. If you've got bad luck, you end up just it follows you around, as you and Bug and everybody else in this group knows, apart from me.
Yeah, well, I will stick up for you a little bit. Indy, because I will say you did come from behind from 150 points last season to win the league. So I have no doubts you won't be down there for very long. Bugden knows what it's like down there to be down there consistently throughout the season.
So cold.
So Bug, let's jump to you. Let's jump to your week. Just pull it up on screen quick. You scored 73 points this week.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. Obviously, I went with the wrong keeper, but I can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, David Raya got you 10 points on the bench. Why did you go with Henderson? What kind of made you?
I think Villa are one of those teams when they play better teams, they end up stealing a 1-0 win. And I thought, you know what? Let's see if I can get some save points from elsewhere.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but and we could be looking at a very different week had Ollie Watkins decided to, be able to finish that week. So I kind of understand that, but 73 points, obviously, it doesn't doesn't do you too bad. You know, you got the big hitters in there with Haaland and
my first sub of
White. Gibbs White's in there as well, but you have got Chris Wood still. You know, what's kind of? I know you saved a lot of money. Have you spent all that money now? What's kind of your thoughts moving forward?
I still got a few million in the bank. He's in there for one more game, but the whole Nkunku playing midweek, Chelsea scoring 6 goals without him, it's now put that into the mix because obviously I've got Anderson as well, who's just gone to Fulham. So there's a couple of places I need a bolster because I can't have 2 defenders from Fulham.
Yeah, I was gonna say that about Anderson. It's quite interesting. I was going to touch upon it with everybody, but I will come to you first, Bug. I know you said you don't want 2 defenders from Fulham, but you look at Anderson, you look at the points he has scored for Palace. Do you think he can replicate those points with Fulham? Do you think he brings them points to Fulham with him, or do you think we see Anderson drop down and dip slightly in terms of, the form and things like that?
I don't think the attacking is going to dip because let's be honest, he's a big lump. He always wins a header. He could have probably had more goals if his luck was on his side. So, again, but Robinson's whipping balls in left, right, and centre. So it's kind of with my hex, I'll take Robinson out and he'll get a hat trick of assists. I'll take Anderson out and score a hat trick.
Hope so.
Yeah, I do hope so, mate, as well. I'll be honest with you. That's kind of a hope of mine. I kind of watch your team each week to see who you've taken out and wonder who I can put in. But just touching back on your team, obviously, like I said, 73 is not a bad week. It's above average in terms of what Hindi requires to win the league, which is not where he was this week. So you can't be too disgruntled about that, can you?
No, not at all. I made the right sub. I made sure that Haaland was getting in there for the easy game.
Yeah.
Probably like all of you, I wish I triple captained him. And I mentioned triple captaining him.
See, I don't. And I want to just touch upon that question. Just want to come to Rossi really quickly about the Anderson thing. So, obviously, Anderson moving to Fulham, he's been quite a big scorer for Palace in terms of FPL points last season and a half. Do you think he'll replicate those at Fulham? Or do you think we're going to start seeing Anderson drop down that list of top scorers in terms of defenders?
I like him. I had him when he was at Palace. I had him in my defence for most of my teams, to be fair. I think, like Bug said, he's big. He's attacking threat from corners. But not only that, he's one of them who does the diagonal balls to the wingers. He loves a long diagonal ball. And I think that kind of suits Fulham's game more than Palace. I know you've got Palace, but Eze drifts around and he likes to pick up the ball in the middle. Whereas I think with Fulham, you can go a bit more direct to the wingers. Yeah, so I think he'd do all right, Fulham. It's whether he starts. I'm not too sure on the Fulham centre backs pairing, but you would think he's been bought to start. So I think he's all right. I think he gets.
They loved him when he was on loan there. They loved him.
Yeah, I was going to say he's going back to an environment he knows he's been in and he knows he's done well in. So you can't really see a bad side to that move for him and for Fulham.
Yeah. A few people in the comments, usual people. Jake O, thanks for tuning in, mate. That keeper would have saved them shots. I'm guessing he's talking about, I don't know who he's talking about. Jake, let us know who you're talking about because I missed that one. Will, as always, thank you very much for tuning in. It's good to have you back. Park Lane Podcast, I'm guessing this is Luke and Ketty for Palace. A good shout to put in your team. I am going to come on to that. That's a topic I want to discuss with the boys a little bit later on. So make sure you stay with us so you can hear all about that. And Jake O says Raya. He's spelling it like Rossi pronounces it. So that's who he was on about. So yeah, all right, it's an okay week for you, Bug. You know what I mean? 73 points is a decent score. You're not quite up there with Ruse first and foremost.
But I'm plodding along.
Talk me through this week. 78 points. That's not a bad week. Who let you down? Who surprised you? I mean, the biggest mistake I can see here is Smith Rowe on your bench getting 10 points and Garnacho.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, like you say, Garnacho let me down. I thought he would have started this week after coming off the bench the week before and changed the game pretty much, got the assist. I thought he would have done it. But then, to be fair to him, he nearly did. If it wasn't for, who's that striker they got? Is it Zonzi on the goal line? So he would have got Xerxes. Yeah, he would have got me. Would have got me another 5 points, but other than Garnacho, really, I'm quite happy with my team. Like Raya, he got the bonus 3 points this week. That massive save from Watkins, what a save that was. To be fair, Watkins should have scored. Trent come off after 70 minutes, was whinging about it, but I was happy, kept me clean sheet, give me my 4 points, thank you, getting that bag.
Yeah.
Same with Porro as well. He kept another clean sheet, which I was quite chuffed about. It gave me max points.
Mate, I was well surprised. It's Tottenham. We don't keep clean sheets. We don't even know what a clean sheet is.
I said
obviously
in the
didn't
old
have enough
score
corners,
prediction. I said in the score prediction 2-2. I thought they were going to score as well, but I was quite chuffed they didn't. Lewis was a bit of a letdown, but he hit the bar, so I was a bit gutted about that one, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, you can't grumble at 78 points in this week. You know, I mean, obviously Haaland helped us all out massively. Without Haaland, Hindi would be relegated in this form. But, you know, so Haaland did help us all out massively. But no, you can't grumble at 78 points. It's a decent week. I mean, you didn't have that many bad performers, which is where you want to be each week. Obviously, Isak and Havertz and Odegaard. Odegaard is one of these ones that I've had in my team, and I'm struggling with him. I'm wondering if to keep him or to get rid of him. But I know full well I'm going to get rid of him, and he's going to score loads of goals. So,
with Odegaard, he had that big chance at 2-0 where Trossard pulled it back. I thought to myself, that's a goal all day long, and he just leant back and skied it. But like I say, I'm happy with my points so far. Like I say, Garnacho was really my only downfall, and Isaac as well. He's not really doing too much, I don't think. The two games I've seen, all right, admittedly the first game they went down to 10 men, but I've not really seen him do anything. So
don't count your chickens yet. They got Tottenham next, and Dr. Tottenham will see you now.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
I mean, after 2 games, his expected goals, according to FPL, was 0.25. It's not exactly something we want from a striker.
Yeah, that's
not the main
great.
Striker and all.
Put it this way, Wood's got a better one.
He's
the one to go with.
0.37.
Will Green, like new colour scheme, guys. Cheers, mate. Cheers, Will. It's been a bit of a slog this last couple of days.
It's a work in progress, Will.
It's a work in progress. We are trying to figure out what works, and I feel like we got the right colour scheme now, but we're really happy. Luke, Park Lane Podcast. It's Luke. He used his wild card. We will come on to that because today
we got a chat on that, boy.
Wednesday. That's a good chat incoming if you are thinking about using your wild card. So stay with us. The next team, it's Basement Dweller Dave. Myself last week was bottom of the table. I've gone above Indy by 20 points this week with a score of 82, and I'm very happy in my week. I bought in Robinson. He got me 7 points, which was very good. Gordon got me 10. Obviously, Ahmad with another. Can't really see my eyesight's a bit bad, but again, it's Odegaard, Minter, and Isak with a 3, and obviously Jordan Pickford. Who, if you pick Jordan Pickford, you're probably all struggling, all probably kind of thinking the same thing. Why the fuck did I pick Jordan Pickford? Because Everton look absolutely hopeless. But I'm happy. 82 points. It kind of picks me back up, puts me second bottom. So I'll take that. Indy's looking up at me for the first time in his life. So I'll enjoy this week as much as I possibly can, because I'm sure by next week he'll be well ahead of me again. But right now, Indy, you're fucking below me, mate. Suck it. But yeah, no, I'm happy. 82 points this week. It's a good week. But the real showstopper this week is Rossi, and he didn't forget his password. He has remembered it. He's logged in, and he's pulled out of the bag a score of 93 points. Rossi, talk me through this week, mate.
No, big. Yeah, well, just stuck with my team, really, mate. Stuck with my team, and I just hit everywhere, realistically. I got Smith Rowe hitting, I got Gordon hitting, I got Gibbs White, Jota. Do you know what I mean? We all had Haaland, obviously. Raya in goal. Just, picks up points. So, yeah, I hit. It was a shame, really, that I was hoping Hall would start. He didn't. So that would have, or at least not come on. I would have got Robinson point just to get me up a little bit more. But yeah, in theory, mate, just a nice week. Nice week had. Performance.
It is a very, very nice week. And that puts you top of our host league. It knocks Ruzel, the bald guy, down a peg to second spot. So it's a big score, mate. It's kind of brings me on nicely. And I want to come to you first about this, because this show, as we know, is called Wildcard Wednesdays. The reason it's called Wildcard Wednesdays is because I've seen a lot of chat about activating that wild card, about hitting that button, and whether you are up for hitting that button, what your reasons would be for hitting that button. Rossi, with 93 points this week, have you hit that button?
I hit that button quite early, to be fair. I hit it for a few reasons. I was always planning to do, I think on the last show I said 3 to 5 or 4 to 5, something like that. I was always planning to do that anyway, but this time I went a bit earlier because I had Rashford I wasn't convinced about at all. I had, is it Bocco? Bocco at the back? Barco at the back, who's obviously now out on loan. And then I had Solanke up top, who was injured. And I only had one transfer. So I was like, what can I do? I could change one about, I could change two. And then all of a sudden, Palmer pops up, bangs, gets a little free assist for Chelsea and Madueke. And I'm thinking, is his price going to go up? Is it a time to just quickly, if I'm thinking about wildcarding anyway, if I can get him in my team before any price rises or anything, just in case, as I'm thinking of swapping my team anyway. So, yeah, at the moment, I haven't got a team. I've done a wildcard. I've got a few little, some players in. I've got one where I've just gone, let's kind of restart and go with the 5-game week period and just go for them players. But then I've got people in form, so it's a bit of a tricky one, but it was one for me that I was thinking of doing, and with the 3 players that I didn't have available, well, 1 was available, 2 wasn't. I just thought it would be best to freshen it up. Really,
is obviously the price rises, price decreases, etc. And Hindi said it on a couple of weeks ago on one of our first shows. He thinks that team value this year is going to play a huge role into where people finish in the league. Was the worry of people rising in price and dropping in price a factor in terms of, do I press that button now or do I wait and hold?
No, definitely. It was. Like I say, I had 2 reasons for it, but that was definitely one of the reasons, because of the price rise, the price drops, they're getting the little 1.1s and things like that. All of a sudden,
massive.
You got to take 2 or 3 possibly out to get that back, and it's so that was definitely in my mind. I don't know about other people. I'm sure you'll get onto them, but that was definitely in my mind.
Yeah, Bug, I'll come to you, mate. Wildcard Wednesdays. Obviously, you started with a really weird team that seems to have worked with you so far. You obviously dropped Haaland in now. You got your 5-week plan, as you said at the start of the season. You pressing that button yet, or are you holding?
I'm going to hold for a little bit because my team's value's only gone up 0.2, and they were players I was always going to keep anyway.
Yeah.
However, in the back of my mind, I've got that whole thing of, Isaac's not performing at the moment. If he doesn't perform next week, I've got to start thinking, is he going to stay in? And Chelsea have proved without Nkunku, who I thought was going to be our baller, that they can score more goals without him. I know it was Wolves, and we've only played City and Wolves, but at the moment, 6 goals, can you really say, right, you're back in the team?
Yeah.
Anderson and Robinson, I've got Myelenko as my backup. Everton are leaking goals left, right and centre. So I need to get – I've got Barker as well. So I need to bolster the players I want with players that are going to perform. But
does that not kind of alter your thinking, though? Obviously, you look at Mikolenko, who is with Everton, they are conceding goals. Yeah, I know he can, blag an assist every now and again, but Everton don't look like scoring for shit. And obviously, with players like Barco, 2 now from Fulham, you're talking 4 transfers, realistically 3 transfers if you want to sort your team out. Has it kind of made you think a little bit more about whether whether now's the time, or do you think maybe get past week 5, see where you're at, and kind of go from there?
I'm still thinking get past week 5, but if week 4 comes, or if I see any inclination that fucking Semenyo's not going to start playing up front or on the penalties, he's going to become another possible victim. Because I picked all my team because they're penalty takers, they're midfielders playing as strikers, and with the transfer window still open, they're getting replaced.
Yeah. So you heard it first. Bug isn't hitting his wild card, and as known as a hex, hit your wild cards. But no, Russ, come on to you, mate. You pressing that button? Wildcard Wednesdays. Your team's not looking too bad. You know what I mean? You got, a few underperformers in there, but are you thinking of pressing that button? Have you already pressed that button?
I pressed it Sunday afternoon, mate.
Press the Sunday afternoon. Explain to me why. Explain what kind of influenced your reasons. What made you click down?
Pretty much the same as Rossi. Thinking of getting players in before the prices go up. And this week was quite a good week for the big hitters. So you could see roughly who's going to be doing what and all that lot. So I just thought, really, hit it now, get the players I want in. And then plus I'll have two transfers to go off after my wild card as well. Plus I saved a few mil in my bank and all for what I've done. I've done something I don't normally do. So it could either come back and bite me on the arse or be a genius move.
We can only hope that it bites you on the arse. Well, I can anyway, because I'm sick of being at the bottom. I'm not going to lie. I'm sick of finishing below yours. But I don't want to gauge too much into the team because we will find that out next week. But is there any surprises in there that you're thinking, well, that's, no one's really going to go for him?
Not so much a surprise, but you'll see next week what I've done with my team, and you'll be like, oh, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. So he's got Saka
without giving too much away, sort of thing. You'll see next week.
Yeah, we'll see next week. Indy, come to you, mate. I mean, you are the king of pressing that button early. Usually game week 2, game week 3. You normally always, boys, press your wild card. Use your wild card for them price rises. We know how you think about the game. We know you plan ahead.
I was going to pretend to you that I wasn't. But I was going to pretend that I didn't do it. But I have done it. But I'm surprised that these two have done it because these two teams have performed really well. I feel for Rossi, he can only go backwards now with the changes. Because 93 points is a big amount of points, which is good for you. But I don't think you've got the gaps in the team that I've got. I would have let it go for a little while after. The reason being that international week after this game week, injuries can happen left, right, and centre, and I feel like that's always dangerous. So I'm a little bit envious of Dave and Bugden on that point that they still got it. I feel like us three will have to negotiate some tough times after the international break, but my team has hemorrhaged in too many areas. It's like the Titanic at the moment. I'm trying to, with buckets, cut the water out, get the life raft.
Imploding. That's what you are. You're just imploding. And we'd love to see it.
But the thing is, in previous years, I've always done it in week 2 or 3, like you said. And that's because you can't really gauge where teams are in the kind of what's going to show from pre-season to the first few weeks. So there's always this kind of 3 or 4 players that have performed well in pre-season but actually are in your team and actually aren't going to perform well in the actual games or have been loaned out or gone. So all of us chose players that actually had good pre-seasons. Nkunku, prime example, Barco, all of them have had really, really good pre-seasons. Rashford, for example, had a really good pre-season, and then it comes to game time and they're nowhere to be seen. So it's tough to gauge, but what I would say is that the team still haven't. I mean, look, for example, Foden hasn't even kicked the ball since he's been back. So there's so many players that aren't actually back or even fully fit to be able to start to actually see what those teams might actually look like when they're at full strength, and that's always a worry.
Well, Foden's actually gone down in price as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's dropped.
Sorry?
Foden's dropped down in price.
I didn't quite catch that, chaps.
Foden.
Yeah, which is shocking because fair enough, he's missed 2 games, but he was also at the Euros, right? So naturally, his price was going to go down. But then this is where FPL this time round is very quick to change prices. I can imagine for people like Barco, he's on loan in Seville. He's not getting any points, but Foden's guaranteed to be back into that starting squad.
Yeah, and we all know Pep. We all know how Pep works. Now might be a good time to think about bringing him in. Even if he doesn't play yet, it's gonna happen. And while he's cheap, Indy, what's just quickly, because you always use your wild card early. We know that. Explain to the people that are watching why you use it early. What's the advantages, disadvantages of using it right now?
Well, piggybacking off what the other chap said, the price changes are so important. Now, the way FPL works is for every 0.2 a player increases, you get 0.1 in your bank. So if 3 or 4 of your players are on form, and over the course of 5 or 6 weeks, they increase by 0.2, that will be the difference between you having a team of 100.5 million and 100 million. And that means that you're already 0.5 better off than everybody else. Now, if you go through the course of a year, I think on one of my years, my team was worth 107.5 million by the end of the season. So I've made effectively a team that was 15 million more or better off than what it was when it started. That's a huge difference, because if those players waited 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks before they get them, you might be forced to switch from, say, an Isaac Watkins down to a Muniz to be able to afford a Salah or somebody like that, and that's a big issue later on as time goes on. So there is benefit of doing it early.
Yeah, go on. What about leaving it? Why should people leave it? You know, if
part of it's being reactive and some of it's being proactive. So if you do it too early, obviously you might miss the player that's going to go up next, and you've already had to then spend 4 points on transfers getting them back in or changing it around. Because again, like I said, teams haven't actually been set yet. We don't know who all of these starting squads are. And I was saying to the boys earlier and midweek in the WhatsApp chat, you don't really know how your season's going to really pan out until about Christmas to see where you are. Look, week 1, week 2, look, everybody goes up and down. It's very seesawy until your teams start to settle. So obviously, if you think about Rossi and Russ, they've had a good start, on average, above average start. They're now going to do their wild card. The idea is you ride the wave and you improve even better. The idea is that that's what you want. But if your team then takes a nosedive, you've just spent your wild card and you now haven't got that kind of safety net to do it at a later date. So it's a 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, to be honest. You've got to hope.
I think the thing with that is, I totally agree. But the thing with that is the 5 subs. I think that's what swayed it for me, doing it this early. Because I thought to myself, okay, worst case scenario, you get a couple of injuries at the international break, which is in a week. I've got 3 subs. So at any point, I've got 3 on the bench. Say, let's 2 of them are injured. I can change one of them, so I'm guaranteed to have 2 subs. You know, vice versa, up the pitch, down the pitch. And the reason I done it is because is kind of the opposite of people going up. Because I thought Rashford's not performing. He could quite easily drop to a 6-9 next week if he doesn't perform. That Barco, he could go to a 3.9. All of a sudden, I've lost 0.2 in a week just by sitting on players that actually they're going to come out my team either next week or the week after anyway. So that's why I went with that. But I totally agree with the point system.
I'll give you a hint, Rossi. If players get loaned out or sold, their prices don't ever change.
Oh, do they not? Okay, fair enough.
Well, Indy, you made a comment where you said you envy me and Bug. Well, envy me no more, mate, because I've also pressed that button. I'm also wildcarded. And
wow.
The reason I've wildcarded is simply because of my first week. You know, my keeper situation is dire. I've got Chelsea's 11th choice keeper on my bench. I've got Jordan Pickford, who can't catch a cold. You know, so for me, I was kind of looking at it like, yeah, I had a decent week this week, but the reason I had a decent week is let's be honest, it was papered over the cracks by Haaland scoring a hat-trick and me captaining him. You know, about that hat-trick, I do pretty poorly again. So for me, it was a case of, you know, my team isn't in the best of shape. I mean, it's better than yours this week, so I'll take that. Your team's probably worth about 5 million this year, not 100. Not the 107 you're talking about anyway. But no, I pressed the button simply because, again, price rises. You know, I'll be honest with you, and I'll tell you straight away, as soon as Palmer, you know, I thought I got to get him in before that price rise. You know, I'll tell you, I got Palmer. As soon as he put on that performance, I thought, I know he's going to go up in price. And that's something I've got to get in before that happens. And you kind of look through the league as such at the moment. I kind of feel like even after 2 games, we can kind of gauge players and who's going to start performing, who's not going to start performing. I don't think anybody's really had, you know, that much of a difficult ride. If you look at Ipswich, obviously, but none of us are really going to put any Ipswich players in, although some could score against City. But, you know, it's for me, it was now, because next week I'm probably going to underperform again in terms of points, because Haaland's not going to get a hat-trick every week. And I'm not going to be able to bank on that each week. So for me, I pressed that button. I don't really like pressing it after week 2. I never really have done. I normally like keeping it. But what the fuck do I know? Because I come 4th every year. So, you know, I'll try something different this year and kind of go from there. So, yeah, I mean, if you're in the comments, you've pressed that wildcard button, let us know. We'd love to discuss it. Anyone to watch out for, Russ? Anyone you think, you know, people should be pointing towards if they are going to wild card? Obviously, you got your Palmers, you got potentially Madueke performing, João Pedro at Brighton. You know, there's all these options. Saka's obviously doing really well, and then you look at the Tottenham boys. Obviously, Odegaard came on, had a good performance the other day, but Son scoring goals fun. Is there anyone that, you know, if anybody's watching, they are pressing that wild card button, you think, yeah, that's a player that if you get him, you should?
See, on today, I see that Aaron Ramsdale could be going to Southampton.
Mm-hmm.
That could be quite a good like backup keeper or a starting keeper. He's priced at 4.4. So I know Southampton are crap and they're going to concede, but you get points for saves and things like that. So he could be quite a good little one. That's Semedo. Is it Semedo for Bournemouth?
Semenyo.
That I think he's had 2 great games.
Yeah.
He could be a little one to get in, quite cheap as well. But there's a few out there. There's a few out there.
Yeah, Bug, big hitters, mate. What about big hitters? You know, obviously it's really hard to get people like Salah and Haaland in your team. I know you're not wildcarding, but if you were, let's pretend you are. It's hard to get big hitters, Salah, Haaland, Palmer, you know, Son, getting all these players, Saka into your team at once is virtually impossible this year. So, if apart from Haaland, because everybody's going to go for Haaland, who should people target? Who should be the one that they go, you know what, the next few fixtures, that's the golden goose?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think Saka's really there yet. He hasn't hit that ground running yet, so I wouldn't go anywhere near Saka until he starts scoring. Salah's Salah, let's be honest, he's involved in everything, and he's got less of a goal involvement per game than Jota and Luis Diaz. And look at him, he's off the mark already. I would look, like Andy said first week, I would look for the players at the mid-ranges, you know, the 8.5s, the 9 millions, the ones that are going to get probably more assists than goals, but they are going to keep getting you points. So
yeah.
I wouldn't go big hitters. I'd try to have a team rather than individuals.
Yeah, Rossi, just quickly, reactionary people, you know, reactionary transfers, reactionary subs. So if we look at Madueke getting a hat-trick, you know, that's a reactionary sub in my opinion, because Chelsea have got 40 players, so he might not start next week.
100%.
What's your kind of opinion on reactionary players? Is it something you do? Is it something you'd advise against? You know, where do you sit on that?
I think you've got to see what situation you're in at that point. Like, I wanted Palmer in my team from the start, but I thought he's just jumped up, whatever it was, 6 million or whatever it is, he jumped up from last year. It was hard to get him in and make a team. It was the same with the Haaland and the Salah issue. But on the back of that, I quickly wildcarded to make sure he was in my team to not lose out on the price rise. So I think it's a tricky one, and I agree with you with Madueke. I think he'd start next week. You think he will. You can't believe he's going to get a hat-trick and get dropped. But then the week after, if he doesn't score next week, then the week after, like you say, Chelsea got so many people. And just going back on something Indy said earlier, this year they've gone really early with the price rises and price drops. So he's already dropped once, Madueke, and then he scores a hat trick and he's gone up straight away from I think he was 5 mil, then 5.4, and now he's gone back up to 5.5 or 6. Sorry, 6.5. So I think he's catching the right time, and you know, not to go back on what I said, but that's why I've done it with Rashford. I don't want him to drop that little point. I think now's the time to get rid of him. And so I think reactionary ones can happen, but you've got to also think about 2 or 3 down the line. Yeah, he might have scored, like you say, he scored a hat trick this week. Realistically, he's going to get another one next week. No, he might get a goal, but if he doesn't, you know, so you just got to take them risks and go with what you feel, especially with the fixtures coming up. There's some great fixtures for some teams.
Yeah, Indy, just one more thing on wildcards before we move on. I saw something quite interesting, and I was reading through Twitter the other day that people say they get players in before a price rise to increase their value of their team to then look to sell on in the future to be able to afford the players they really want. Do you think that's a good strategy?
No. And the reason being that you need 0.2 before they go up. Now, the chances are that a player will go up at this early stage, 0.1 here and there. If they have a bad couple of weeks, you might go down minus 0.1. So you don't see the benefit, but your team sees the benefit because your value of your team's just gone from 100 million to 99.9 or 99.8 or whatever it is. So the key is to try and make big jumps. So you have to make at least a 2-point increase on a player to see the benefit of that 0.1 in your team. But that alone isn't going to help your team unless you get 4 or 5 people that do the same thing. Because the chances are, if you need a midfielder that's 6.5 and you've only got 6 million in the bank, you need lots of players that are really, really good have gone up, and then you have to sell them when they're at their peak value, which means that actually they could continue to keep going up. Like Cole Palmer last year, I got him at 5 million. By the end, I think it was about 7.5, something stupid like that. So I'd made 2.5 million on one player. Now, had I ever got rid of him, I'd have only got the difference. So let's say he'd gone up 0.5, I'd only got 0.2, because it needs to be for every 0.2 increase, you get half, you get 50% of it. So at the point that I got him at 5, if I'd sold him at 6 million, I'd have got 5.5 million effectively for him. If I sell him at 7, I get 6 million for him. Yeah. But the key for me is to see, well, okay, if he's performing that much better than his expectations, then he's my cheap option. He's my cheap forward. And he was the highest performing midfielder last year. So in the end, it just worked out great for me.
Yeah, your internet signal's as shit as your team this week, mate. I'm not going to lie. But no, moving on. Cheers, boys. I really appreciate that. But obviously, like I said, four out of 5 of the hosts have wildcarded. The only person that hasn't is known as the Hex. So use that information as you will. If I were you, I'd press that button. But, you know, what do I know? Moving on, obviously, I want to touch upon something which we started last week. It is our score predictor table. We predicted the Super 6 games based off results. We had 3 points for a correct score, 1 point if you guessed the correct result. So if you guessed a draw, it was a draw, you got a point. If you guessed a win for one team and they won, you got a point. Putting up the table, I mean, to everyone's surprise, I got 6 out of 6, just those scores right. So I had an absolute blinding week there. And I'm well ahead to begin with. Between Hindi, Russ and Rossi on 3, and the Hex himself down there on 2. I am going to start with Bug.
Yeah,
Bottom of the table. I'm not going to ask you what went wrong or what went right, but what went wrong and what went right, mate? Talk me through it.
Obviously, I didn't get the results right, or teams winning, did I?
Yeah, of course. But, you know, I know you're used to being bottom of tables that we're involved in, but, you know, to start and be 4 points behind me in game week 1, it's a big drop, mate. It's a big drop. I mean, I was perfect this week. It doesn't happen very often, so I'll take it. And I'm probably going to keep that up, just to keep pulling it up every now and again to show everyone that I got 6 results.
A broke clock is right at least once a day.
Oh, exactly. I'm right once a year, mate. So I'll take that. So, once a year over once a day. So
you've had your one. I'm on my way up. You said a little rock climber. That's me.
The way I look at it is you can't get any worse.
Exactly.
You can't get any lower. You can't
the
get any lower.
only way is up.
Yeah, it is. So 3 people tied in the middle for second place. Hindi, Russ and Rossi. Obviously, me out front. 6 correct results. No correct score predictions, but I'll take a 3-point lead going into week 2. All day long. Moving on, I just want to touch upon week 2 because it is something that I want to get out of the way. Rather than us all give our score predictions, every single one of them on the show, I think we'll keep them in our WhatsApp group, but we'll do one each, if that makes sense. So what I want to do this week is if we can do one game, pick a game out of Super 6. Anyone know what Super 6 is this week?
Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Russ, if you've done it, you take control, mate. Your job is to pick one game for each of us to pick the result of. We just so you know, at the end of this show, all of our predictions have to be in by, say, I don't know, 10:30, or I'll give every other result will be a draw.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, well, I might as well give you Spurs Newcastle then.
Nice. Me. I will take. I'm going to go with what I said in the podcast. I think Spurs win. I think Newcastle have been pretty underwhelming so far this season. They haven't really filled me much confidence, and we do have a bit of a. I know we got a bit of a hex up in Newcastle. St James's Park isn't our favourite place to go, and we keep losing big there. But I think we're going to turn them over 3-1. I think it'll be Spurs 3, Newcastle 1.
Oh, cool. Do I give everyone one then, do I?
Give everyone one individual game.
I'll give Rossi, I'll give Leicester, Villa.
I've gone for 3-1 Villa. I think Leicester at home probably get a goal, I would have thought. But I think Villa looked good. Watkins should have had 2 against Arsenal. Definitely should have had 1. Good save. But 3-1, I think, Villa.
I'll give Indy Forest Wolves.
So I've got that as Forest 1-0 against Wolves. Yeah. I think Forest defensively look pretty solid so far this season. And I just think that Nuno, against his old club, probably will hold on for a goal and then play defensive like he used to do at Wolves, to be honest. But just another shout out, Bournemouth last week were robbed of a 2-1 against Newcastle. That would have seen me joint top. # just saying.
Yeah, but we can't always sit there and think, oh, but Saka across the ball to Gabriel and it got disallowed. You got to move on, mate. You didn't win.
It didn't get disallowed. It got given. FPL didn't give it.
Oh, that's not my fault. It's not my fault that the Real didn't give that goal either. But we can cry about it as much as you want, and I wish I had that graphic to pull up. I really do, but we'll keep that to the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, well, and I'll give Bug. You can have United Liverpool.
United Liverpool. Oh, fuck. Oh.
Oh.
You know what? I'm quite impressed with Man United going forward, even though they're not always scoring. Apart from obviously Rashford. That front three for Liverpool are going to run riot. When you're still playing Johnny Evans, I'm going to go 3-1. 3-1 Liverpool.
3-1 Liverpool.
And I will take Everton Bournemouth then. And I'm going to say Bournemouth win this game 2-0.
Okay, yeah. So just to clarify, I've gone. Obviously, we will all give these scores off the show. There's the same games, etc. And there's one more spare. Let's all do the spare game, Russ.
Spare game.
West Ham City.
Oh, West Ham City. Yeah, West Ham City. I've gone 3-1 City. 3-1 City.
Okay. Next.
I've gone 2-1.
2-1 West Ham.
2-1 City.
Indy.
I've gone 3-0 City.
Ooh,
and
3-0.
2-0 City.
And I've gone 4-0
again.
You don't think City will concede?
Nah.
Yeah, I think West Ham have started better than I thought they would.
Yeah, I do. I agree.
I think the issue that I've got with their team is they haven't gelled the new players in yet. I feel like if all of their new players are in, they would be much, much better. But they still got the same bunch from last year.
Has anyone made a note of these scores?
I'll just watch it back, mate. It's all right.
We got the Super 6 predictions.
We'll write it all down just so we can get it. But if you got any prediction scores for the weekend, chuck them in the comments. Let us know. We've still got a few people watching, so thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, the last 10-15 minutes of the show, we like to talk about the actual Premier League and the games that went on over the weekend. I think it's a good time to really talk about it. Will Green's made a couple of comments. Will Green's made a comment saying Brighton look like they could be in for another great season. By far the best run club in the league. I think we all concur. We said that last week.
We spoke about that last week, didn't we?
Yeah, Scout is unbelievable. Jaco popped up with what does everyone think about Liverpool signing Federico Chiesa? 12.5 million, I think, is an absolute steal.
Crazy.
And I am amazed that nobody else went for him.
He's got no knees, so he's a perfect sub. If they can manage his injuries and bring him on for that last 15, 20 minutes when they're tired, it'd be brilliant. But he ain't going to be an all-game player.
Chelsea didn't sign him, that's all.
For 12.5 mil, though, for 12.5 mil, they're getting, like Bug said, if you can get half a season out of him for that money, I think that's a great buy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Tottenham were looking at him too, so, I mean, we don't buy players like that, but, it is a steal. 12.5 million in this market is absolutely nothing. When you look at Tottenham spent 25 on Odegaard, it was heard of.
We would have bought him for 57.
You did. You bought another player with no knees in Neto, mate. So you're good. You're good. But yeah, talking about the Premier League, I want to touch upon some results over the weekend. Let's touch upon our individual teams. I think that's quite important. I'm going to start this week. I'm going to talk about Tottenham, obviously 4-0 Everton. I spoke about this on the Park Lane podcast on Sunday. So as did Rossi, as did Russ. You can go back and watch that. But my initial thoughts were, I don't think Tottenham were that great. I think we did enough, but I think Everton are just that bad. And I think they're in big, big trouble this season. I really do. There was a time when Spurs went 2-0 up and we start doing the usual Spurs thing where we sit back and Everton looked a bit dangerous. you know, it was a bit of a worry. But for me, Tottenham have got a lot of improvements to make. I'm not getting my hopes up. You know, I don't. I'm a Tottenham fan. It's hard to get your hopes up when you're a Tottenham fan, to be honest. I'm so used to shite. But you know, I'll take a 4-0 win. Like I said, there's some encouraging performances. Odegaard and his debut look really, really good. Son obviously looking back to form, and Mickey van der Ven. What a fucking player he is! What a player! A centre half to run from his own box to the other box. If I'd have tried that playing football, I'd have got to the halfway line and done an asthma attack. That's all I know.
18-yard box.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want to go Bug. Huge result for Chelsea. Big win.
Right.
You know, did you see that coming?
I didn't see it coming, no. However, I knew the first game against City was always, you know, everyone respects City too much. They always play the defensive side. If we probably went at City like we did against Wolves, we could have probably given a bit of a fight. Yes. So coming in against Wolves and actually showing a bit of intent to score rather than, oh, we'll go back, oh, we'll go left, oh, we'll go right. It was quite nice.
Yeah. Obviously, you got players like Madueke who's come into the team. Obviously, made a bit of a social media error the night before, saying how shit Wolverhampton is.
I don't know. He made up for it, did he?
Well, he made up for it for Chelsea, but I don't know if he's got out of Wolves yet. Anyone know? Anyone else? But, you know, he had to come out and apologise after that. But you know, it's a good result for Chelsea. You know, Wolves to me, I don't know what everyone else thinks, but again, they look like they're going to really struggle this season. I don't know if they've got what problems they've got. Rossi,
it's one of them with Wolves. Every season starts with Wolves, and I look at them, and you look at the individual players. They go, all right, they lost Neto this time, but you know, you look at them players they had, and you think, oh, Kunfa's good. You know, they got Ant Nori who's skinning people for fun.
Who's the first one you said?
What was his name?
Cunha.
Yeah. You know what I mean? He's played for Wolves up front, you know what I mean? But yeah, they've got them type of players, and you always think that they're gonna. Well, for me, I always think they're gonna do well, and I actually like the manager. I think
Gary Neal.
Yeah, I think they stuck with him well. They're giving him a good contract to say we're behind you. But yeah, it's another one of them. They're open wide, but then they've had a few tricky games, and Chelsea on their good day will beat a lot of people like that. 4, 5, 6. They just caught them on a bad day, I think, personally.
Rossi, just quickly, obviously, we heard your thoughts on United on the Park Lane podcast, which is really rare. So if you do want to hear that, watch that back. So just touch upon that again, just for the people that didn't see it.
No, it's. I always thought it was a tricky game against Brighton. I rate Brighton, I really do. Like we talked about last week, like Matey said in the comments. Sorry, whoever you are. Brighton are just decent. Just such a decent team. They always seem to get them players for a lower fee, but they want to work. They want to play in that system. They always knock it about. They're always good on the counter. They always seem pretty solid at back with Dunk. So it was always going to be a tricky one for United. But watching the game, it's just the same. We go through spells. Like I said, Rashford for me just not at it again. I don't know if he's going to ever get at it again. To be totally honest, he had one season, maybe 2 good seasons. But yeah, and it's one of them. We've still got new players to bed in. We've still got Zertsky up front. We've still got Hovland waiting on the old bench. Well, he's injured at the moment, but he'll be back. I don't know about the Mount situation playing as the false 9. Although I'm not a lover of Mount, but although he done well, he done well in the pressing game. But it was and then last minute, it's kind of we're used to doing that. We're not so used to receiving that.
Used to be used to doing that. Used to be used to doing that. A long time ago.
That's what I mean. Like it's turned around the last few years. But so I mean, I'm not too disheartened because, as I've said a couple of times, I think Brighton are a good team. So I think we've lost to a good team. But
give me a yes or no answer without going into it. Ten Hag, yes or no?
Yes, for now.
Okay, Indy. As you're another United fan, mate, just follow on from Rossi. Let me know your thoughts quickly on the game.
Do you know what? I don't actually think we were that bad. You're playing against Brighton at home. They are one of the most ball-dominant teams in the league. So we expect them to have large proportions of the ball. I think when I checked, it was pretty much 50-50 at half time, even though they were 1-0 up. I think by the end of the game, we had more possession. The chances were pretty much even again. I think we passed them off the pitch. I think we had way more passes in general and way more pass percentage. So all of those things play into our hands, because that's not what we were doing last year. We were kind of 40% possession last year. So clearly we look better. We're playing better, but it's the same result as last year. But I think actually the performance suggested that we probably ought to have drawn that game, or maybe even stuck it 2-1. It's just a pain in the ass that we lost in the last kick of the game. So I think that's the kind of kick in the teeth that will now either give them a good kick up the backside before Liverpool, or cause us to lose 3 or 4.
Yeah. The disallowed goal didn't help as well, did it? It's a different game with that. It's a different game when that goes in, doesn't it?
That's just certainly showing his youth, isn't it? Wanting to get in there, wanting to make good impression, and all he's done is made a shit impression.
But to be honest, if he hadn't gone in like that, everyone would have gone, "Oh, why didn't he dive at it?"
Exactly. Yeah.
Ruzel, again, coming to you, Arsenal. Obviously, a great result for you boys. 2-0 at Villa. That's. You can't ask for much more than that, can you, really? I mean, obviously, you're under the cosh a little bit. 2 massive chances for Watkins. David Raya obviously saved your bacon a little bit. But all I keep hearing, and I do agree with it, is those are the games you have to win if you want to be champions. And last season, you got 0 points from 2 games against Villa. This year, you started off with 3 points. You couldn't ask much more, could you?
No, I'm buzzing, mate, to be fair. 2 from 2, 2 clean sheets. And like you say, Raya, massive. Absolute massive. To be fair, though, we did ride our luck. Ollie Watkins, any other day, that first chance goes in. We go 1-0 down, then it's a completely different ball game. I think Villa could have held on and maybe gone on to get a second while we're trying to press. But no, overall, I'm really happy. I'm quite disappointed with Martinelli at the moment. He's not really performing. But I'm hoping now that we've just signed Miko Moreno, I think he could unlock that left-hand side a little bit more, because he's left-footed. He plays as a Xhaka role. I think that could open up the space for him. But then again, I like Trossard.
I was going to ask you about Moreno, actually, Rossi, and this is something I was wanted to talk about really quickly before we wrap up. Tell me about him. I don't know too much about him. Obviously, I know he's at Newcastle once upon a time, but what do you think about that signing? Is it a signing you're happy with?
I'm buzzing for him. I'm happy for him. He got the most duels won last year in the top 7 leagues, which means he likes to tackle, and he gets stuck in, and he wins the ball most of the time. He's not really a goal scorer or an assister. He played 190 games for Sociedad, scoring 20 and assisting 20. So he's not one of those attacking players. But I think that he might be playing as like a double pivot with Rice.
Okay, yeah.
Which I think would be decent for us, and then Odegaard floating like he normally does anyway. But I just seem to think once he's in the team, if Mikel Arteta's going to keep Martinelli in the starting lineup, I think that could be the key to unlocking him, to let him do what he wants. Because at the moment, without Xhaka being there when we had him, when Martinelli's getting exposed, there's no one there.
Yeah.
When at least when Xhaka was there, you had Xhaka. So I'm hoping Moreno would do the same. But then again, you're leaving Trossard out. In my eyes, I'd start Trossard over Martinelli all day long. Trossard's our best finisher at the club, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And you don't get those stats on Sky Sports News. Remember that, guys. So make sure you tune in. I got one question for all of you. Transfer deadline day is Friday. It's the day that we all kind of dread as football fans. Obviously, Bugden don't, because they'll sign another 20 players on deadline day. But
come on, Ivan Toney.
As a club, I'll start with Tottenham. I still think we need one more. I still love an Eze. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but I still think we need Eze, or we also need cover at left back. So they're the two that one of the two I want done realistically as a Spurs fan. United fans, coming to you two. What do you need? How many do you need? Without too much detail, just hit me with it.
Go on in.
I'm kind of glad that we got Agate in. That seems like it's a good bit of business.
Definitely.
I still think we're lacking a real quality striker, because I feel like the other two are a bit young, or bits and pieces, kind of a 9.5, 10, not really a proper striker, like an actual 9. I mean, to be honest, I'd take Fat Ronaldo, to be honest. He'd probably still do a job. He was the phenom for a reason. But no, I mean, there's not an awful lot out there, and I think our business is almost done. I'm not sure we've got enough money left. So even if we were to get rid of the likes of Sancho and get a bit of money in, I think it's just going to be balancing the books. And if we can get a loan in here or there, to be honest, I wouldn't be against the idea of getting Amrabat back in. To be honest,
He
I feel
looks
like that
like
holding
now.
midfielder.
He looks like he's off to Turkey, mate. So I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, it's a shame because, to be honest, for what they were talking about, kind of 12, 13, 14 million, to be honest, if you're going to get rid of McTominay for 30, getting him in for 12 probably does make sense. But that's
Rossi,
a shame.
Go on then. Wrap up, mate.
No, I was just saying that was a shame, but I think that's it, to be honest. I think apart from kind of trying to steal a few wingers or somebody from other people, I think we've got what we've got, and we're going to have to go with it now and try and make the players that we've got perform better.
Sorry, mate, you can have Sterling.
Yeah, Rossi, go on. Do you think you need anyone else? You know, how many? What do you reckon?
No, I'm pretty with him. I'm pretty agree with that. I mean, with the Sancho and I've read the Sancho and the Sterling deal could be a little switch. I wouldn't actually mind that because he gives us an experienced winger. But yeah, I'd like to try and stick your toe in the water and try and get Tony personally. But I don't think we've got the funds, and I don't think. When you've got two young strikers that you just bought for a probably combined, 100+ million, I don't think that'll happen. But yeah, I think we're still a couple away, but I'm happy with what we've done this year, definitely.
Russ, Arsenal, need anything, you reckon?
Yeah, we need a striker, mate. It showed at the weekend against Villa. All right, Trossard come on and change the game, but Havertz ain't the answer. Havertz is decent for us, but we need a striker. There's talks about us getting that Gyökeres or whatever his name's from Sporting.
Gyökeres, yeah, from Sporting.
If we get him, we're winning the league.
See, we will talk about Gyökeres next week, actually, if he does go to Arsenal, because he did well for Coventry and then moved to Sporting. Whether he can do it in the Premier League is a different story. So that'll be interesting. That'll be an interesting one. But Bug, Chelsea, obviously you sign players left, right, and centre. So I'm guessing there's 10 more lined up. Do you think?
Yeah, mate.
There's no point asking if you need anyone else, is there?
Well,
you're going to sign them anyway.
Bit of squad depth would do us. You know, a couple more players.
Who do you want, Nate? Obviously, we know Chelsea sign everyone. If I get Nate, pull a name out the hat right now, who do you want?
Mate, I to be honest with you, Nicholas Jackson, he's a good striker. Don't get me wrong, but he misses big chances. And I think having the pressure of being the only striker, we'll probably get to him. He's still new to the league. And to be honest with you, I always thought our team plays better when we've got a Drogba type player. So I think Ivan Toney is that guy.
Yeah.
Do you like Felix? Do you like the Felix signing, Bug, or not?
I'm indifferent because he wasn't exactly a major goal scorer for us, but he was that one player that would change a game. Now, you know, again, we've got so many players, we don't even know who can change a game for us. We just know it's Palmer at the moment. You know, Madueke's played 2 games, Thursday and the weekend, and scored 4 goals now. So, like,
and he probably won't even start on the weekend coming.
Yeah, we keep buying all these players, and then we don't give people enough of a chance, so no one ever steps up.
I just want to mention one thing. Obviously, in 2 weeks' time, it's week 5 of the FPL League. It's the first time you can win some money playing in our league. We've got over 100 teams in there. The rules are simple. It's the highest scoring team that week. I will be repeating this right up until week 5. The highest scoring team without using any chips. So don't feel like you're going to get ahead by cheating, by choosing your triple captain to win some money. Doesn't work that way. The highest scoring team without any chips will win the money. But like I said, that this is it's kind of wraps us up a little bit. I just want to mention, obviously, we've got someone coming on next week. We've got another guest joining us on. That's Jake. He's in the comments quite a lot. So, Jake, we look forward to having you on next week. And joining the troops. 6 of us is going to be complete carnage, but it is with 5 of us, so we'll embrace that. But
definitely,
again, this has been week 3. Join us next week. End of the transfer window. We're going to talk about how our wildcard picks went, whether Bugden was right to hold or whether he is the real Hex. But again, thank you all for joining. Just really quickly, boys, how can people find you? Russ, start with you.
At Wilson Brown 85. Also here every Wednesday night and Wednesday 9 o'clock on the show.
Bug, how can people find you?
Here, it's the link for
NWO.
Twitter.
He's part of NWO.
It's my Twitter and my OnlyFans. So, you know, if you want to either follow me on Twitter or pay me $2.99, I don't really mind.
Indy, where about you, mate?
So you can actually find me as the head of employment at Eric Robinson Solicitors. But just a plug for the firm. But in general,
wrong way, mate. Wrong way. Use the other hand.
Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah. And Rossi,
you know
obviously,
what?
we know where we find
my
you.
Screen mirror on.
We know Rossi doesn't like his socials, but I'm going to start tagging him each week in the tweets, so you can go and give him a follow at that point. But I'm guessing Rossi here every Wednesday, mate, and occasionally on some other shows.
Yes, here Wednesday, 9 o'clock. Turn up, have a listen, let us natter on.
And I'm available on Park Lane Pod or Park Lane Pod Dave. Couple of comments just quickly before we go. Big up, lads. Great show again. And Jake, I'll see you all next week representing Liverpool. Jake, I will make sure that Russ gets that link to you. But again, thank you very much for joining us. Again, it's been an interesting week where our usual top dog is the bottom dweller. You know, he's swimming with the fishes this week. Will it be the same next week? We will see you all then. Thank you again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you
guys.
soon.